Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twinengine's How to Get More Leads on Your Radar webinar. It's so great to see so many familiar faces here today. Let's get started. Before a plane takes off, the pilots have a flight plan. During the course of a flight, wind, rain, turbulence, air traffic, human error, as we've seen many recently, and other factors act upon that plane. But most of the time, that plane is not even on a prescribed flight path. This is where the pilots come in, right? It's that path, right? Their role is to continuously adjust based on the conditions. So most of the time, that plane is off course, right? 90% of the time, it's off course, right? And if you've read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, you know that this is a big topic in his book, right? He talks about the best and the brightest, the most famous and the most successful. And he asked the question, what makes high achievers different? And if we accept it as leaders, entrepreneurs, and organizations that we're off course 90% of the time, this could be an incredible place of strength and competitive edge. And accepting we're off course most of the time, especially with leads, right? When it comes to leads. And if we could focus and follow a system, we would certainly get more leads on our radar, because being off course is a good thing and it keeps us on our game. And really looking at the constant movement of what we see and experience and making constant adjustments, all the while staying on course, right? Off course 90% of the time, it's a good thing. It keeps us focused because every single one of those little blips you see on the radar is a lead, right? And they know where they're going, but they're not quite sure how they're going to get there because all of these conditions, right? So we have to pay attention, not just in one time, right? When you put that lead information in your lead database, but continuously. I'm Winnie Hart. I launched Twinengine about 25 years ago, and we started out as a traditional agency. Just a little bit about us. We've had incredible success, and we're now focused on really helping companies adjust to the changing landscape of marketing. You probably noticed that I work with my identical twin sister, Elle. And together, what's great about us working together is that we literally do bring a right brain and left brain approach to helping companies and brands take off and get where they want to go. So how do we get more leads on our radar, right? So the goal of today's webinar is to identify an ideal lead versus a stowaway. We're going to present strategies to be top of mind when leads are looking for a solution. We want to help you know what to expect, to know what those ROI statistics are and the benefits of what we call lead nurturing. We're going to be identifying tools that can monitor and manage your lead funnel. And then we're going to talk about True North, right? And True North is something that you may not have heard about before if you haven't attended one of our other webinars. But it's really about ideal leads as one of the 8 alignment indicators on your True North. And we're going to be talking to you about the other 7 too, because this is one part of an 8-part series that focuses on alignment. And it's obviously one of the challenges that we all faced in today's world. Thanks everyone for your feedback prior to this webinar, and I hope that we were able to bring all of your questions in today's session so that we can benefit everybody. And always know that you can reach me at winnie@twinengine.com anytime. So is everybody good with that? Okay, great. Let's get started. So, one of the things you'll hear a lot here at Twinengine is, what would Don Draper do? Because he always talks about this sort of intelligence, right? This understanding of leads, right? Before they even know what they need. So when you think about Don Draper and you think about lead intelligence, it's about knowing what they want. It's about knowing what their preferences are. It's how they find you, right? So at Twinengine, we look at leads in 4 categories. We call them preferred passengers, right? Which are ideal leads. That's leads that fit. It's about their value. It's about the relationship that you have with them, right? These are the preferred passengers, the preferred leads that you want. And we want to spend most of our time focused on those preferred passengers. The second level is frequent flyers, right? These are long-term relationships. They have potential to become preferred passengers, right? And they're loyal, right? So preferred passengers and frequent flyers are the ones you want to focus on. Because there's also stowaways, right? These are high maintenance, low value leads. Cargo, you all have them. We have them. This cargo are the leads and the prospects and the clients that weigh the business down. These impact the culture of the company and they are not profitable. So we don't want to focus on cargo. So going back to what you all know is the 80-20 rule. So if we spent 80% of our time on preferred passengers and frequent flyers, we ultimately would achieve all of our results. So I want to give you in a couple of different parts of today's webinar, a couple of action items. So here, what I'd like to see is to really think about, how would you profile your lead categories? What would you call them? Would you have 4? Would you have 5? Would you have 2? Right? What would they be? Or you can use these. And then develop a scoring system based on the behaviors for each, right? So having more leads on your radar is just not about those leads. It's about scoring those leads so you know what category to put them in, so you know how to market to them. So let's look at lead scoring for a minute. There are 2 dimensions of a qualified lead. There's fit, right? So, there's fit and engagement. So fit is the information we know about that person. And it's typical stuff like role, company, industry, revenues, anything that can help you determine whether they're the ideal decision maker. Engagement. This is the information we know about their activities, their behaviors, right? We want to know what their favorite topics are and level of interest. And this is going to help us determine whether they're ready to begin a conversation with us or not. Okay. And then one thing to think about is maybe creating a graph for scoring leads if you're not already doing so. You could do A, B, C, D, maybe on the x-axis, and maybe that's the fit part. And on the y, it would be simple, like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe. And that would be based on their engagement. So that you can define a next action for each of the squares on that particular graph. And I'm happy to send you an example if you'd like me to. So just imagine each square on the graph requires a different strategy. So let's just pretend for a second A1, right? So A1s would be ideal fit and maximum engagement. So those leads would go directly into the sales process. But like, C1s or D1s, which might have a high level engagement below fit, might be worth, engaging in a conversation to try to understand more what they need, right? Or maybe they're not even the decision maker. Okay. So is this all sort of making sense? I want to show you another tool that once you identify who your ideal leads are, right, getting more leads into your radar, that you have a scoring system in place. Okay. So we just talked about that. And then also that you speak from a place of your competitive advantage, which is what we call your true north advantage. This is where, your consumer needs and your offers, what you do, what you sell, come together with the competitors' offers and where that true north advantage place is, so that your offers and the prospect needs align in a place where your competitors do not, right? And this is what we call your competitive advantage. Actually, this is the focus of the next webinar, which I believe is May 5th, and we'll be walking through this particular tool and showing you how to find your competitive advantage and absolutely crush the competition. So mark that on your calendar. So back to Don Draper. He knows what people need because he is observing, right? He understands the competitor's offering and the mindset of the ideal prospect, and he's following the trends beyond the industry, and he's sharing, but he's doing it very patiently until a prospect is ready to buy. So one thing about behaviors is having and assessing leads and putting them on your radar is one thing, but understanding how the competitors are doing this is another. And if you can get to that place where you know what your advantage is beyond and above the competitors, you put yourself in a whole different category. So a critical component to taking those leads into the messaging, right? But let's think a little bit about that patient aspect of it, and that sitting and waiting and observing. And I'm sure you've all seen one of these before. Elf on the Shelf. Actually, oh God, Elf on the Shelf makes me crazy. But if you really think about the elf on the shelf and you think about that most of those competitors that we just showed on that diagram, they sell with a sledgehammer, right? They sell, sell, sell. They don't sit and watch behaviors. They're not waiting for the prospect to become the ideal lead. They're not really thinking about what the true needs of the customer are, and they're trying to sell them things versus understanding what that prospect wants to buy. So if you speak and share what those needs are before they know they need it and continuously wait at the ready until he or she is ready to buy. So always there, always ready. It takes time because you really want to be top of mind. And let's look at how we do that, right? So you've all seen funnels. We talk a lot about funnels and sales, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the process of inbound marketing and the Twinengine funnel. So obviously what we're trying to do is we're converting strangers to promoters, right? Complete strangers that know nothing about us, that aren't aligned with our needs. We don't even know what they're looking for, to people that go out and promote what we do and what we sell and become high engagers on our NPS score, net promoter score, people that would refer us to others. So if we look at the top part, right, and they come in as strangers, but they become visitors, right? So we're attracting visitors, and what we're doing is we're attracting potential buyers to come to our site using compelling content, okay? And that content comes from what they want, right? What the information they want. We're not selling at this point. We're just giving the content that they're looking for. And we're engaging with them constantly online, right? Because we know what their personas are. We know each of those leads. We know where they fall, and we know what their behaviors are. We know what they're looking for, and we know where they're looking for it. And part of the function at that point is blogging, right? We all have blogs. You may, post, 200 words a blog, on your blog maybe once a month, but people that blog 700 words or more 7 days a week convert 100 times more than others that don't. It's incredible, and it's all about content. So social media, what social media channels are your personas looking at? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter, LinkedIn? And what are the conversations that they're looking for and engaging with on those channels? Keywords. Keywords are a really important part of what I just talked about, blogging, and especially in social media too. It's really understanding what those long tail keywords are. And there are a lot of tools you can use to understand what people are looking for, so that your content aligns with that. So even in Google search, which is another topic centered around SEO, but how you come up in those top search results under SEO. And then, of course, having pages within your website that align with that content that they're looking for. And of course, mobile optimization is up there too, because we know that more than 50% of every ideal lead that you have is looking at you on a mobile device. So let's move from visitors to leads. So they've made it to your site, right? They're there, and now we need to convert them, right? We want to convert them to leads. Right? They've been visiting, and we want to engage with them, and we want them to take part in some sort of call to action, right? So on our website, we may be offering them white papers or infographics or videos or free consultation. But what we do is we want to capture their information on a form on your website, and that could just be as simple, just put your email in here, hit the button, and then you capture that email. And you might do that through landing pages. I'm going to talk a little bit about platforms in a second, but landing page optimization is really become incredibly effective in this, so that you can do it in different ways. So there's a landing page based on the content that they're looking for. They go to the landing page, they put in their information, and they become part of your leads. They become part of your leads, and then that gives you a place to begin to score that lead based on what we talked about previously. And then at that point, they are leads. So then we want to obviously convert them to customers, right? And we're going to do it in the same way. We're going to have calls to actions. We're going to have landing pages and forms for ways for them to do that. But we're going to do that in a way where we're really speaking to them in ways that they want to be spoken to and giving them the things that they want. But we're not selling. Okay, we're sharing, right? So we do this through many different ways, through social, through web, through email, and we are personalizing that content to them based on what we know about their persona, and we're nurturing them. The sledgehammer's not here. We are nurturing them. We are waiting. We're giving them what they want, and we're looking at what they do. So in this case, if we're working a platform, we can actually set up that platform to score every time they do something that we're looking for, right? So if they open a particular web page, they download a white paper, maybe they engage with us on Facebook, we can increase that score based on the interaction, and we can actually see what they're looking and market to them differently, right? And all of this, of course, can sync with the CRM, and I'm sure many of you have CRM set up, but just bringing those two things together, whether it's Salesforce or even having an internal CRM in your inbound marketing platform. And then also one great thing about a platform, and I'm certainly not here to sell a platform, but the one great experience that we've had with the platform that we use is every time that person engages with you, you get an immediate message on your desktop, right? So you see, Winnie Hart is looking at, or Winnie Hart just registered for, your Get More Leads webinar. So it's an incredible way to know in real time what your prospects and what your leads are doing and what they're looking at. So of course that moves from they become a customer, and we market to customers in the same way we market to leads, but with different content, right? We continue the relationship, and we call this the lifetime of a relationship. That this isn't just about converting leads to prospects to customers. It's about developing a lifelong relationship with anyone that engages in and transacts with any one of our clients or us. All right, so that's a little bit more about the funnel, and it's all about just really, getting found, right? So through social media, through your content, about literally getting found, because you know what your prospects need, and you offer that need to them, and it's something that your competitors do not. And then you guide them through the process, right? You guide them through the process with incredible content that's aligned with their needs, and you nurture them. And then you analyze what they do. You analyze the content. You make all your decisions based on data. And then you repeat, and you continuously do it over and over again. So I talked a little bit about inbound marketing and some of the benefits of that. And we with Twinengine, we talk a lot about planes, and we always talk about, inbound flights versus outbound flights. And what we love about inbound flights is that there's so many benefits to it, and it really aligns with the way that we like to sell and the way that we like to nurture relationships, because we're not about when we talk about getting more leads on your radar, we want to make sure it's the right leads. We want to make sure it's the right lead for the right relationship for you, for long term. That we don't see ourselves in the transactional business, because we're selling relationships, but we're doing it in a way that develops a lifetime of relationships and a lifetime of referrals and promoters, right? So it's not about pushing information out to them. It's about giving them the information where they want it and when they need it. And there's so many benefits to that, right? You've got, search engine optimization, because, all of your keywords are aligned with what your needs are, and they're aligned with what people are looking for out there. Marketing automation. So what's so great about having a platform, and that's one of the reasons why I really want to talk about that when we talk about getting more leads on your radar, is because we don't want to see you manually attacking these leads every day. We want these leads to come to you when you're sleeping, right? We want these leads to come to you when you're giving presentations and successfully completing projects and all of those busy things that you're doing while you're working in your business, right? We want your inbound marketing to work while you're working on your business, right? Marketing analytics. So there's so much incredible benefit of how technology has aligned with marketing today, and you should take advantage of every single aspect of it. And the analytics are phenomenal, right? Not only can you find out what you want to know about your leads, you can also find out everything you want to know about your competitors, which should also be part of your strategy. We all know about social media and the emergence of social media, and having using a platform to schedule those things keeps you in a more proactive, let's say you have an editorial calendar. That editorial calendar has a theme each month, and you have a way to schedule those things on a daily basis. And then email and lead nurturing. As much email as you get. I mean, I'm sure you're sitting right now looking at 200 emails to open in your inbox. It's still the number one way to work if you're in the B2B side to really reach and nurture your prospects. And then landing pages so that you have unique ways to capture information based on what they're looking for, and it's not just one place where people go to connect with you. And then, of course, content creation. Content creation is more important today than it ever has been. And you definitely want to register for that webinar because that's a really, really good one. So what happens with ROI, right? So we've talked about the funnel, we've talked about inbound marketing, and I promised that I would share some statistics with you because, if you follow a funnel, if you follow a system, if you work with an inbound marketing strategy, you have 6 times more leads per month than others that don't. That's 6 times more leads per month. Now, I can't promise you those are all ideal leads or, preferred passengers, but it's a volume play, right? And how you score them is how you nurture them, right? And whether you keep them and bring them through the funnel or not. So 6 times more leads per month. And I'll just share with you just one of the result charts that we have from our inbound marketing program. And this shows you that we started obviously in December 2012, and we're up from 0, right, to over 40,000 per month visits to our website. And that's all through, very strategic an investment of time and effort into an inbound marketing program that has brought just, more leads than we can almost score some time to our funnel. So fantastic results. So just to touch on a couple of the solutions that are out there for you. We've worked with a bunch of these, and I'm happy to talk to any one of you one-on-one about what tool might be best for you. But there's some really great ones out there. There's HubSpot, which that's what you're looking at. You're looking at some screenshots right there that works really well on mobile too. Pardot, they're very, very similar. It all depends on they all have different things that they do better or worse than others, or there's a lot of benefits to each of them. Marketo, a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit more for the big box enterprise. Acton, Eloqua, and Infusionsoft. So that's just a couple of tools, and I'm happy to send this webinar to you after if you want to have all these things, so you don't have to take too many notes. But really, really great platforms out there that are really, really easy to implement. You own them. The training is, I'll say for HubSpot in particular, the training is phenomenal. Where they walk you through the process, help you set it up. It does take time. You should expect probably 90 days for the full setup, and there's quite an investment on the front end to get that right. But once you have it right, you can set it up and automate it for the entire year and just really, really learn from that intelligence and start bringing those leads in. Absolutely fantastic. But, you got to remember that content is king. So I just want to keep, putting that one out there because, garbage in, garbage out. So I want to make sure that we're all clear that whatever you say through these platforms and how you communicate to bringing more leads on your radar is really about the content, right? And content could be words, it could be copy, it could be infographics, it could be a lot of different things, video. It's not just, blogs. I mean, it could be social media posts. It could be a lot of different things. And you may do a lot of different things, but they should, of course, always be aligned with what your prospects are looking for, and then also what data tells you that's happening, especially in your competitive landscape. Because marketing can't fix a bad product or service. So, when we think about marketing and the way, honestly, before the emergence of social media and what we call collaborative marketing, it was really easy to persuade a buyer, right? We did a full page ad, we sent a direct mail, we actually picked up the phone. We may even have knocked on their door. But today, I don't know if any of you have had any experience with Yelp. Happy to talk to you about it offline. But Yelp, it can put you out of business in about 48 hours, right? Because we've all become critics. And that's inside and outside of our organizations. So, and it's all about really telling the truth as much as it is about having the right content and making sure what you say about your product is actually true. It has to be true, because if you don't tell the truth about your product, then someone else certainly will. So really, really think about what that content needs to be, and make sure that it's aligned with the truth of your product and service and your company and your brand. Because it's alignment. And I mentioned to you earlier that there are 8 components of alignment, and ideal leads just being one. I just want to just touch on those for a minute and tell you what those are. Because, when we talk about being off course, what we really were talking about is being out of alignment. And all of our companies and all of our brands and all of our prospects are out of alignment. And so the key to being in alignment is to know you're out of alignment, be comfortable with it, and to constantly, if you could just think about all of the things that bring alignment together, and maybe they're like gauges on your dashboard, right? And you have to constantly look at each of those and adjust those so that you are constantly seeking that perfect alignment. And one thing that's important, especially when you're talking to those ideal leads, to really understand that they're not aligned either, and that they are off course 90% of the time. And your role in selling to those leads is helping them get on course, right? Is helping them find that alignment, and then really thinking about in what ways do you do that your competitors don't. So so we call True North Radar is what we call the 8 indicators of alignment. You'll see in the bottom right, ideal leads. That's what we're talking about today, and how this works. And I'm happy to send this to you too. Might be a fun thing to do with your team. Is from the inside is 0, from the outside is 5, right? So you measure constantly where you are in each of these things. So if you look at ideal leads, that's where you have a constant funnel of ideal leads. They're defined, you know what their score is, and they're nurtured and managed. Okay. Let's go up to the authentic messaging, right? Got to tell the truth. We talked about that. The messaging is consistent, it's genuine, and it communicates value propositions. Brand alignment. So not only is brand important outside of your company, speaking to your external prospects, but it's also important inside your company, right? And that those two things are aligned with the perceptions, right? Inside and outside who you are. Reputation awareness. Reputation awareness. So we all understand what reputation is, and today you can find out anything you want to about anyone online. And let's say, for example, I know that someone on the call today is thinking about, or not maybe in the conversations of selling their company. But when people do that, they're not looking necessarily at the company. They're Googling you. They're looking for you. They want to understand, what your reputation is and how that aligns with their perceptions, right? So this is something that you really want to continuously and ongoingly look at all the time. And we're going to have a webinar on that. So be checking the date on that, because there are some great tools out there where you can learn everything you want to know about what people are saying about you and everyone else. It's really great. True purpose, right? Do you know and live your purpose, right? Do you know what your why is? Do you know what your company or your brand's why is? And do you tell the truth about what you stand for, and are you true to your beliefs, right? Because people aren't all just buying what you sell, they're also buying why you sell it. Discipline mindset. This is where people get stuck, right? And this is about a focused and committed strategy to achieve desired results, right? So are you disciplined, right? Are you really, really focused on what you're doing? And then quarterly targets. People do pretty well with these, because most people do have goals and targets. It's just really watching and adjusting and looking at those targets on a continuous basis. And then, of course, standing out, right? Do you stand out among your competitors and influencers and industry thought leaders, right? That's the one I talked to you about that's on May the 5th, right? And just to show an example, just if you're curious about a recent one that we did, to see where some people fall, right? This particular company is in the process of trying to understand what they do beyond making money, right? And that's where that true purpose is. They're really, really good at measuring, and that's what quarterly targets are, but they don't have the discipline to really do what they need to do. And I'll show you a tool that I can send you to help you do that. They're starting to merge on Ideal Leads. They have a lot of work there. They're obviously going to implement a inbound marketing platform, but their messaging isn't where it needs to be. And they think that that's actually the number one thing they're going to work on with their true purpose. Right? So to just give you an idea about what that looks like, I'm happy to send this to you too. This is what we call a True North marketing flight plan, which I told you about, those 8 indicators. And this is a place where you can do each of those activities. You can see where you have preferred passenger and frequent flyers, that right there. And just to walk through with your team, if you could just focus on that one part so that you can really work on those ideal leads and getting more leads on your radar. And I'm happy to send that tool to you too. Just to give you a little hint on how the tool works is, this is of course when you're in complete alignment with 8 indicators. You know your why, you know your purpose, you know what you do beyond what you do, and it's aligned internally and externally. And everybody can recite that elevator pitch easily and succinctly to all of those leads. We do a facilitated part of this plan for our clients so that we help guide them through the process and teach them how to use the tools. And of course, we talked about True North Advantage, and you'll learn more about that in the next webinar. And then really, really putting a measured process in place to really look at those leads, measure those leads, and know where they fall on your scoring system. I went and I don't know if any of you on the call know Warren Rustan, but I spent some time with him a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about excuses. And it really hit me because I thought it's kind of rude, right? Talking to you about excuses. But I thought to myself, that's really what it is. Because if we spent the time on the front end to really think through those leads, to really understand who they are, to really do our due diligence in doing our research into those leads, we'd really understand if we were the right fit for them. And if they engage with us, we'd begin to understand what their real needs were, right? So, and when companies invest the time and align all of these things, and especially when it comes to leads, that it just works, right? And you achieve all those things because you've got that disciplined mindset. Because it's just so easy today to get distracted, right? I just lost you, didn't I? There's so many things to think about, and especially leads, because it becomes distracting because we become reactive to a lead, right? We get a call. Someone sends us an email, but what about all those leads we have in our database that we don't look at and nurture and constantly manage all of the time, right? Are we missing out on all of them because we're reacting to an immediate potential outcome? So something to think about. Because the thing we hear all the time is, people, they just don't understand us. They don't understand our value, what we do, but we're the best at it. And the problem becomes because first of all, we may not be telling the truth about who we are and what we do. Secondly, we may not be aligning those needs with what the prospect really wants. Or 3, we may not be saying anything, and we might assume that everyone knows who we are and what we do. So when we think about marketing to leads, we need to think about, and you might think that you're being repeated, that you might be hammering, you might be, spamming someone, but just do it in a way that is giving them information and not selling to them, so that they do know what you do and they do know the value of what you do, and they know that how incredibly good you are at it. I love Henry Ford, and I love this quote, and it comes down to, anything, it's difficult, right? It takes time, right? But with that effort can come just incredible success. So let's go through the top 10 things that you need to get started, right? This is about getting those leads on your radar. So really identifying your ideal client, right? Think through that, go through that activity with your team. Are they a preferred passenger? Are they cargo, right? Do they need to stay in the funnel, or do they need to go? Develop content that really solves problems, right? How are we solving problems for our leads, right? And is our content aligned with that? Are we just selling them something? Editorial calendar. I promise you, if you create a monthly editorial calendar and you post to that calendar, that you will be successful. And maybe each month has a theme. It's April Fool's, right? Today, and that would be a great theme for April. Or maybe even something about, if you're in the finance side of the industry, maybe something about tax preparation, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can think about what content you should be sharing, and different sites you can leverage to give you the content you're looking for. Blog. Sharing content, because it's not just about what you're saying, it's how Google sees you, and it's how it sees the content that you're sharing. Social media, they're out there. Connect with these leads in a personal way if you can on Facebook. I know that you're connected to all of them on LinkedIn. And then also think about Twitter. Twitter is now a part of, the content from Twitter is now is sort of in the Google algorithm, right? So think about all of those tweets that you send out and really think about what you're saying and align it with those keywords and use those hashtags and tie it all back to what that ideal clients looking for. Keyword phrases. So take some time, look at your website, go through the back end of your website, and make sure that not only is your website tagged correctly so that people are looking for the things you want them to find, but look at those keyword phrases. You may not want to say it that way because you might have a preference on how you want to say different things, but really look out there online and see if your key phrases on your website are aligned with what people are actually looking for. Make sure those are in alignment. White papers, downloads, anything you can as a thought leader. You may have noticed that LinkedIn now has a publishing tool, a publishing platform that you can publish articles and become part of Pulse. So you might want to really look into that. That's a really, really fantastic tool, and the engagement looks really good. But also think about infographics and white papers, and there's a lot of places that you can go and find resources that can help you do those really in very, very reasonable ways, but just make sure that you're providing the content that they're looking for. Online advertising. We're certainly not here to talk about advertising, but it's something definitely to think about. AdWord campaigns that are tied to your keywords, that are tied to what people are looking for. And think about, do your homework, find out what your competitors are doing, and be there if you want to be there. And then remarketing is, I personally think we've seen a lot of success with it. And that's where, how you go and you search for something, and let's say it's you're looking for a new BMW, right? And you go and you search for a new BMW, and then all of a sudden you start seeing it like in ads in the website you're looking at, or you're on Amazon.com ordering, Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last book, and you see there's that BMW again, right? So remarketing, so that you can do that. And the great thing about remarketing is that you only pay for what's clicked. So definitely put that on your radar. Email marketing, still up there, still one of the most successful things you can do, but just keep the content focused on what people are looking for, and then analyze and repeat, analyze and repeat, analyze and repeat. Because you want to get more leads on your radar, and you want to take off and get above the clouds, right? Because there's nobody up there. There's so much technology out here for us to use to really get more leads on our radar, and to really think about what their scores are, and to really market to them in the way they want to, because you're above turbulence, and just get up there where no one is, blue skies, blue oceans, and stay on course, right? Develop that mindset, that disciplined mindset to implement it while you're sleeping, and while you're doing all the other things you do to be successful, so you can spend time working on your business. So we talked about some really, really great things today on how to identify that ideal lead versus a stowaway. We talked about how to be top of mind when leads are looking for something. We talked about ROI and what you should expect. We talked about some tools. So there's a couple out there. I talked about, HubSpot, Marketo, Pardot. Maybe one of those tools is right for you. And then we talked about the whole sort of True North radar, which includes all of those 8 alignment indicators, and how to really, really align with your True North to be incredibly aligned and on course, and to really get comfortable with being out of course. So I see a couple of questions, so I wanted to address a few of those. And if anyone, go ahead and type it in if you have any others. Let's see. For inbound marketing, what is the cost of the software? So it's a range. Most are based on number of contacts that you have, right? So if you have, like, I know HubSpot, if you have like 1,000 contacts, it's like around $800 a month, I think. But it's about value because of the package you get for it. But, it can range anywhere from, $600 a month to, let's say $1,500 a month, depending on what you're doing with the tool. And I know that you can do different things. So if you only want to start with 500 contacts, that you can get a lower amount per month. So if you have any other questions, you can email me directly about that. And I might have some links to places you can compare all those tools. Okay, number 2, let's see. What if I'm in alignment, but my team isn't? That's a fantastic question. So, we all see our businesses off course, right? It's easy for us to see this because it's impersonal, right? And it's It's what we do every day, right? But alignment is something that also is a personal thing. So I would say as people, we're probably all also off about 90% of the time, right? We're off course, right? And we're constantly readjusting that course every day to get back on course. Um, so think about ways that you can bring your team into alignment too, and think about the people. Think about maybe you could focus on the what their purpose is. You could really definitely focus on maybe thinking about that disciplined mindset and putting a plan together that maybe everyone would rally around to help get them aligned at least with what you're going to be doing, the how of what you're going to be doing. And then also think about maybe brand alignment, and look at what's your culture look like. How does your culture align with the perceptions inside and the perceptions outside, right? So and another thing too is really to talk about alignment. I think it's something that we all really strive to be in. I really personally don't believe in the word balance. I don't really think it exists. I think we're always off course, and we're always sort of looking for that perfect place. And it's just, I guess the key to me is finding comfort in knowing that that is a given, right? My dad, I grew up, my dad, what an incredible mentor. His name is Brig, and we grew up with him saying, Winnie Laurie, because of course we had one name, Winnie Laurie. Winnie Laurie, life is difficult, right? Life is difficult. It's one of his dadisms, and so we, of course, heard that. Of course, he balanced that with think positive, but when you accept it, then it all becomes awesome, right? It's like, oh, it's hard, but man, isn't this fantastic? So thinking about if you come to acceptance with being out of line, then you're comfortable with being and striving to be in line. So anyway, I know that was a little bit more than you probably asked for, but I'm also happy to talk about that offline. How long does it take to see the results from a lead generation campaign? Ooh, another good question. Elf on the shelf. It can take a year. It can take 6 months. It can take, it takes time. You obviously see the results right away because you start seeing the behaviors and you start seeing the data, right? So you start seeing what people are doing and what they're touching and how they're interacting with you, but it definitely takes time. We saw results. It was probably took about 4 months. But we really started with it was a solid contact list. So we spent a lot of time going through that list and making sure that list was a good, solid list. And I want to say this sort of as an offside thing: don't purchase lists. One thing I will say about these programs is purchase lists are really frowned upon, and it's definitely not a sort of authentic way to think about marketing to leads. And bringing more leads on your radar. If you can think about, what we talked about in the very beginning, and that was Don Draper, right? And think about him and think about how he is always thinking about what people need before they need it, right? What's missing in my market? What is it that people are looking for that no one else, right? That True North competitive advantage. What is no one else? What is available to me to focus on, right? And maybe you start focus on just one thing, right? Focus on to really capture those leads so that those leads are, when they come to you, you get to the point where you don't even need to score them, because the way you've built this intelligence, they all come in as preferred passengers, right? Wouldn't that just be incredible? So I want to thank you all for attending today's webinar. The next webinar is May 5th. It's about competitive advantage and finding your True North advantage. And I'm going to send an email to all of you, providing you with a link to this webinar that you can share with others. And also, we've got a couple of ebooks that might be really great. One's called The ABCs of Inbound Marketing. I see a couple of you have asked me for some of the tools, and I'm happy to share those with you too. So thank you so much. Thanks for being here today, and go out and get those leads on your radar. Thank you so much.